Alright guys, just wanted to talk a little bit about curve selection. And I've been rocking a P28 for quite some time, coming from a P14. That's my favorite curve ever. Fortunately, Bauer doesn't really make it anymore unless it's custom. P28 was kind of the closest I could get to that kind of hook. Unfortunately, it's a longer blade. But a couple of people have asked kind of what the difference is between a P28 and a P90TM. So I'm going to take a few shots here with each and kind of see if I really can feel a difference, because I got to be honest, I've been rocking back and forth between my AS4 Pro and my Sling, my Catalyst, and my Hyperlight. Only one of them is the P90TM, and I gotta be honest, I don't really notice much in the game, but I'm gonna see if I could take a few shots here and just see if I notice anything going back and forth. So let's start with the P90TM and the AS4 Pro and see how it goes. All right, got a P28 with the Hyperlight. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'll give you my final thoughts in a second. These three shots are AS4 Pro P90TM here, AS4 Pro P90TM on this one, and then finally a P28. I believe it was the Catalyst. I'm not 100% sure, but I know it's a P28. So again, not much of a difference here, guys. What's going on, guys? So this was actually a video request. Somebody was talking about comparing the current P28 to the new CCM P90TM. And it just so happens that when the AS4 came out, the only thing that was available was a P90TM at my current local hockey shop. So I ended up picking it up. And you'll see I actually got the new Ripcord Trigger 6 Pro as well, which is now a P28. But I wanted to talk a little about these two curves because I've been a super long-term P14 user, and I guess the CCM version of that was the P30, and Bauer stopped making the P14 with some of the new releases, and I eventually settled on the P28. And to be honest, it's not my favorite curve ever, that's for sure, and I really just kind of settled because there was nothing else available. And when I was picking up the AS4 Pro, I was looking at the P90TM and comparing it to the P28, and I actually couldn't see much of a difference, to be honest. And I was questioning what this was in terms of a release from CCM. I'm not sure where this curve came from or anything, but I'm going to share my thoughts on it. And I did some shots recently with both, and I kept going back and forth, and I've done at least 4 or 5 games with these two curves. And I gotta be honest, guys, there is zero difference. So I'm not really sure what the dealio is there. So really quick, the P90TM versus the P28, if you put them side by side and actually look down them, there's very little difference. And I think it's slightly more open on the P90TM. And I will say that when I was doing wristers at the rink when I rented ice, my wrist shots were just a little bit higher with the P90TM, and I think that's because it's slightly more open. The face is a little bit more open. But other than that, it's like half an inch longer, maybe. And in terms of overall going back and forth between the two games, I really couldn't really feel any difference. So currently I'm using the Ripcord Trigger 6 Pro, and my go-to stick is the AS4 Pro right now. And I go back and forth in between periods, and there's no difference in shots, there's no difference in shot power, etc. So here's my question for you guys. What actually makes a curve that you like? And when I'm thinking about my old days with the P14, it really comes down to consistency, the results, and the shot power and ability to get the puck off, how your shooting style works. So when you're talking about that with a curve, and now you have the P28 and the P90TM, there's no difference there. So I'm questioning, what was CCM thinking when they're releasing these two curves? I honestly don't know. You remove the P30, which was kind of P14 similar, and you bring in a P90TM, which is basically a very slightly modified P28. I just don't understand the thought process here. In a retail curve, I get that you want sales and you want something to be popular, because I'm sure the P14 and P30 were not, which is why they were removed from the market. But you gotta have difference in curves, and these two just, there's no difference. There's nothing changes here. So the good thing that comes out of that is they now have, let's just say they release a stick like the AS4 Pro and they only had a P90TM for some reason. Well, I just purchased that because it was basically interchangeable. But the thing is I don't think there's enough difference to justify having two curves. I just don't. And I'm disappointed in CCM for that, because removing the P30, which is a much different curve, and the P14, they're still slightly a bit different, but that was kind of CCM's answer to Bauer's P14, is now you just have two curves that are exactly the same. So you have a P88, you got the P28, you got the P92. There's your three best-selling curves retail. And now you have the P90TM, which is exactly the same curve. So you're not getting any different results out of it. What's the purpose of doing it? So I'm a little bit disappointed. Taking the shots back to back and switching in between games, there's no difference, guys. So I hate to cut this video short and release something that maybe doesn't have much content or, you know, solidness to it, but honestly, this was a real waste of time from CCM's perspective, and I have a sneaky suspicion that the end result is the P90TM will be gone eventually. They'll just be like, they just keep buying P28s, because honestly, you're going to use it and you're just not going to see a difference. So I think one day, pretty soon, probably in the next generation stick release, the P90TM will be gone. And hopefully they do something different, because unfortunately Bauer has their current customizer and you can get a whole bunch of different pro curves, which is really cool. But unfortunately, if you've seen my reviews, you know that most of the Bauer sticks, in my personal opinion, are not that great. So curve choice for me was huge originally with the Bauer sticks, but the stick performance itself is better than the availability of curves. So Bauer may offer more curves with a custom buy, and you can buy the Hyperlight, the Pro Custom, or the Ultrasonic and the Geo on Bauer's website and get some crazy curves that are all pros, but their sticks aren't good enough to justify it. So you got a little bit of a challenge there depending on what you want. At least CCM sticks are performing right now, and you'll see my Ripcord 6 Pro coming out in the next week or so. But in terms of actual curve choice, CCM doesn't really bring that much that Bauer does. So I got to give CCM props for their amazing sticks lately, but the two curve choices here, it's a complete waste, and there's no need to buy a P90TM. You're literally just going to be, if you blindfold tested those two sticks, you would not be able to tell, in my personal opinion. So CCM, why did you do it? I have no idea, but it probably won't be on the market very long. Anyway, look forward to a Trigger 6 Pro review coming out next week. And this one, unfortunately, I feel like it was a bit of a filler video, but my end result is just get a P28. There's no need to waste your money on getting a P90TM just to try it. I'm giving you my thoughts on it. It's not worth it. So in the end, the P90TM and the P28 are shooters patterns. They excel at all types of shots, because they can either get the big sweet spot for the one-timer, the big slapper. They have the toe hook for the nice dragging wrister, and the 3/4 to end of the blade is excellent for quick snapshots. So it's still a shooter's pattern, and they are interchangeable. Like I said, I really don't think the P90TM will stick around very long when everybody realizes they're basically the same curve and their results don't really change in terms of shot, power, height, etc. It'll be very difficult to tell. So if you're a shooter, these types of patterns, the P28 and the P90TM, are definitely the way to go. If you're a passer, it's probably better to go back to the P88 or the P92, which is kind of the best of all worlds in terms of shooting and passing. These are definitely shooters patterns, and I think the P28 originally was built for that shooter that brings the puck in and then of course brings the arm out and has that slingshot effect. So that's what these two curves are definitely designed for. Other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for a Ripcord Trigger 6 Pro, which will be released next week. Talk to you guys then.